word in Urdu we had for that is jagar.
Jagar,
So
there's a lot of jagar in Pakistan.
What are some of the bigger things that this relationship between the two countries has brought about for us?
One thing that in this context we can highlight is of course the company presence here.
What are some of the bigger problems that Swedish companies or European companies are still facing when they think of Pakistan as a potential market?
You have to have a business climate that is quite transparent, that is easy to navigate, that is predictable and stable.
You come to Pakistan and you see how things are. Tell me, how bad do you think things are over here?
You know, you go out hiking in Margala Hills, take a bag with you and pick up the trash that you see.
Have you picked up on any Pakistani foods that you will perhaps take with you?
Liver ball patatika. So it's done up north. It's like, I think it's called patatika. Isn't it called patatika? You don't know what patatika is, Abdullah?
No. What are some of the tangible things that you hope happen within the next 5 years, let's say?
The more exchange we have in all these different fields, whether it is trade and commerce, people to people, culture, sports, politics.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the Pakistan Observer podcast. मेरा नाम अब्दुल्ला मलिक है और मेरे साथ आज मौजूद हैं a very special guest, Ambassador of Sweden to Pakistan, Alex. Alex, thank you so much for being at Pakistan Observer. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Alex, you know, in the course of learning more about you, I learned that you have served as an ambassador in multiple places, and I'm going to come to those multiple places because we're very excited and always intrigued to learn about what's across the border. But before I do that, we've always seen diplomats as people that are living these good lives and interesting lives and powerful lives. Tell me a little bit about yourself, about being a diplomat in Islamabad, in Pakistan, what a day in Alex's life looks like.
Oh, that's an easy question and difficult question at the same time. And diplomacy is something that I'm very passionate about. I think that is something that the world needs a lot of more of, and especially now. And one of the perks of being a diplomat is that really no day is like the other. They differ so much, but I think that the one thing that they have in all these days of being a diplomat have in common is that it's very much about listening and communication.
Right.
So I spend my day interacting, listening to different stakeholders, different partners of the country that I'm in, communicating about, Swedish perspective and Swedish priorities and values. And I think in that kind of conversation, that's where minds and hearts and interests align somehow.
Right. And Alex, you've been in Islamabad in Pakistan for 2 years now, close to 2 years. Tell me a little bit about that experience, especially in the light of you having served in Bangladesh, in India, in Afghanistan. When you compare those experiences to now being in Islamabad, how do those differ? What do you take away from Pakistan as another South Asian country that you're now serving?
It's an interesting and a bit tricky question, but I think that my starting point, usually when South Asia, I've been in South Asia now for 10 years, so it's really one of my, a home turf, so to speak, and I felt like that experience can never be complete if I don't do Pakistan as my last posting here. So I see, I try not to compare postings because I want every one of them to be kind of unique in themselves, and I think that as soon as you start comparing, something falls short.
Right.
But I do see many similarities, and I do see a lot of differences. I see a region that could gain so much by being more interconnected with each other, that there is like a stream of history and culture underneath that unites you.
Right.
And I compare to my own, to my own region, the Nordic region, which is one of the most integrated regions in the world. where we have a lot of similarities, but we have a lot of differences. But somehow our approach has been that we can gain so much in strength and in unity by being more integrated. And so that's how we have kind of seen it. But I think for me also, realization was how unique Pakistan is in this context, because I think that you can get blinded by seeing it in a South Asian context. Pakistan is so much more than that, and I see that the last months have really underlined how Pakistan is unique in the sense that it's also, has close ties to the Middle East and the Gulf country and part of that region. So I think that you can see Pakistan as a bridge over to, of course, Central and South Asia, and how it is, part of South Asia, of course, but also so much more than that.
Right. And Alex, this year we're celebrating 77 years of diplomatic relations between Sweden and Pakistan. If you were to look back at these 7 or 8 decades, what's something that we've gained out of this relationship collectively? And then on Pakistan's end, what are some of the bigger things that this relationship between the two countries has brought about for us?
So I think that diplomacy for me is also kind of gathering and highlighting the many, many voices and many stories of two countries. And I think that one thing that in this context we can highlight is, of course, the company presence here. So this year, Ericsson, for instance, turns 150 years as a company. Wow. And Tetra Pak turns 75 years. And these two, for instance, are companies that came very, very early on in our relationship. So I think that Ericsson has been here for 67 years, and Tetra Pak turns 44 years. But we have many companies like that here, and they form part of that bilateral relation. And when we are talking about numbers, we have this amazing Pakistani gentleman, Mr. Babar Ali, who turns 100 years. Already in 1954, he made his first visit to Sweden and established a partnership with a very important industrial family in Sweden called the Rausings. And a couple who had then been doing Tetra Pak, and that's their invention for a couple of years. And that is also one of those stories that of course Tetra Pak in Lahore now is a very well established story. So I think that somehow connects the company part with the amazing individuals that make up this relationship. So I think that that's one of those things that I have really learned here, that we are two different countries, of course, but we are joined together by more than 7 decades of both company engagement, political exchanges, but also these amazing individual stories that you are a part of too.
Yeah, no, I think I completely agree. And, when I look back at my family history, it's just so fascinating how it connects. And then, now we do something like this. Yeah. And it feels like a full circle moment, just carrying on those values and taking those forward. I am interested to learn a little bit more about Sweden's presence in Pakistan. And, so I do want you to tell me a little bit about what the broader sectors there are that we are already working on and operating in, and then what are some of the potential areas that Sweden and Pakistan can work together to perhaps economically benefit and socially benefit as well.
Yeah, so I think that in general, we have quite broad relationships that you can see that there are, there's a political exchange, we have people-to-people ties, not least when it comes to Pakistani students going to Sweden, and the alumni that come back and are kind of excellent ambassadors to both countries. We have cultural exchanges. This past weeks have been very kind of actively engaged in sports promotion. But I think that the focus area for us is company and trade. And I think that, the more or less 40 companies that we have here that have made great imprints during the years that they have been here are part of that. We look at different sectors and we have priorities. So they stretch from, for instance, textile and the textile industry, which is of course of immense importance to Pakistan, and textile being the most important sector also when it comes to exports to the European Union. They are also part of the GSP Plus trade facilities that Pakistan is the greatest beneficiary of from the European Union. So traditionally we have been, for Swedish companies have been sourcing a lot. So we have IKEA and H&M, for instance, that source textiles from Pakistan. So that's one area. Another one is telecom and digitalization. I mentioned Ericsson before, and we have many other different smaller innovative companies that are also doing a lot within digitalization. And I think that for us, the digital transition is something that we promote widely, and we have been part of that journey here, but also in many other countries. So I think that has been and will continue to be a great focus area. And of course now, recently Pakistan has launched the 5G, so that is something that we are also very actively looking at. We have another segment that goes back to the history that I was speaking about, which is packaging, where we have companies such as Tetra Pak, Packages, and Ecoline that are very innovative in terms of how they look at sustainability in packaging. And some of them not only, produce packaging for the domestic market, they also export abroad. Another area is the area of energy, where we have companies such as ABB and Hitachi that look at those that look at how you can help in terms of energy efficiencies and green transition. So there are, and then also we have a big segment of industrial solutions, where we have companies that come in and look at the industries and see how can we be more efficient, how can we help with a lot of different innovative products in order to make things more sustainable and more efficient. And all this is, I think, under an umbrella of, something that is in the air, in the DNA of Swedes, namely like the green, digital transition and sustainability, because I think that is something that is very engraved not only in Swedish society but also in the companies. So when they look at the markets, they will also look at how they can be both like socially responsible, but also responsible in a green sustainability way.
And what about the problems? So what are some of the bigger problems that Swedish companies or European companies are still facing when they think of Pakistan as a potential market to operate in, invest in, and work in?
I think, you're very right in the sense that the business climate is something that, companies are rational actors. So that's what they will be attracted to markets that are easy to penetrate and easy to navigate in. And that's why I think it's important that many of the kind of big brands that we have, Swedish brands, they have been here for a long time and they know how to navigate. But I do think that in order to, and it's not only about Swedish investments and Swedish companies, it's about the European companies. In order to be able to attract that kind of investment and also attract SMEs, you have to have a business climate that is quite transparent, that is easy to navigate, that is predictable and stable. And I think there are angles there that where we have a dialogue with Pakistani stakeholders about how we can have an equal playing level field, about, for instance, taxation, about the predictability of different policies. So this is something that we have constructive engagements with Pakistani stakeholders about, but it's as Pakistan is, trying to increase its market shares both in the European market but also in globally. These trying to simplify and make policies more transparent and the market more accessible is going to be increasingly important. So that is also one of those things that I think that we are speaking a lot about in the within the European Union.
And Alex, you in your last answer, you mentioned educational opportunities for Pakistani students in Sweden. Tell me a little bit more about that, because I think that is a demographic that would perhaps be very interested in hearing from you what those opportunities might look like, and how can they sort of go about those opportunities.
So what we are seeing is that Pakistan is a growing, it's one of the biggest student groups of foreign students coming to Swedish universities.
Oh, really?
And especially when it comes to higher education. So that is something that we see as very positive, and we can see that maybe Pakistani youth is looking beyond the usual student destinations, US, Australia, Canada, and so on, UK, of course, and looking at countries that are like our country. So that has it is a trend that we see, and we see that Sweden, Pakistani students have a lot that they could learn in our country, and vice versa. They come back here, they take a bit of Sweden with them, and you have this perfect ambassador.
Alex, are you a feminist?
Yes.
You are. When you look...
Can I just say that I hesitate because it feels like a concept that is open for interpretation. But if that interpretation is that regardless of gender, you should have the same opportunities as any other person, then I am a very strong feminist, yes.
As I think we all should be. I think just like many other things in life, you can interpret those things however you perceive life to be, and so that's one way to go about it, and perhaps that's the right way to go about it. But I'm just interested, when you look at Pakistan and when you look at the women over here, you've sort of experienced that over the last 2 years. From an outside perspective, coming into this country, do you think there's still challenges? Do you think there's still, or do you think we've made some sort of progress over the last 77 years in that angle?
It's an interesting question, and I hope that you speak to all ambassadors about gender equality and the women's role in society. I think that, first of all, just to say that gender equality is something that is deeply ingrained in the Swedish DNA. That's how it's a choice that we have made as a society. But it is also a choice that we have made in society because we think that if you are going to prosper, if you are going to grow economically, there's no way a country the size of Sweden could have done that if you don't include the whole population in that growth and in that development. And in terms of like coming to South Asia and coming to Pakistan, like one of my sources of inspiration here, except youth, is speaking to women of this country. Because I see that there is so much talent, so much potential, so much resilience, and whoever I sit down with has this journey behind her that is fantastic to hear, where you have more or less unrealized potential in it. So what I can see is that I meet many prominent women in all areas and walks of life here, and it is very impressive. But I can also see that there is a pool of women and girls whose potential could be much more realized and much more taken advantage of to the benefit of the whole society. And I think that that's something that we can say in any country or any region, and also in Sweden, that much progress has been made, but no doubt that there is a journey to go, and that equality between gender equality or any kind or between minorities, or this is an ongoing process and something that you have to be working with very hard as a society. And in your community and in your family. And that is something that is regardless of what country you are from.
And what about climate? So when you come from a country like Sweden, where a focus on climate and climate change is so much and so big, and you come to Pakistan and you see how things are, A, tell me how bad do you think things are over here, and B, how much are we focusing as a nation on those bigger problems that we perhaps do have?
It's a very, very important question, of course. I think in terms of, first of all, environment, and Sweden, I keep saying the same thing, but consciousness about environment, connection to environment is something that is very close to, and I think that you have experienced that too. It's very close to the Swedish identity. So in Sweden, for instance, we have all man's right, allemansrätten, which is the right for everyone to have access to nature, to forest, to lakes, because it's a common good, a common property. So one of those things, my children have been living longer in South Asia than they have been living in Sweden. But I have this story that I usually tell in order to kind of illustrate what I'm talking about. And that is, when my kids were in daycare, they could barely, very small, sometimes going on a stroller, sometimes walking by themselves. But every week, they went to the closest recycling station, and they put like paper in one container and glass in one and boxes in another one. And when we came to this region, because that's something that we also do at home, we recycle. That's one of the first questions, like, where am I putting this bottle, mommy? Or where am I putting this newspaper? And we started doing as we did in Sweden. And then I asked one day, but where does all this go? And then it turns out, of course, that in the context of being outside of the Nordic countries, maybe recycling is not very well developed. So I think that this is something that is ingrained in us, and that in that sense, we all have an individual responsibility to do our share. So, you go out hiking in Margala Hills, take a bag with you and pick up the trash that you see. We have another a phenomenon in Sweden that became viral, that is called plogging, which is Swedes are very health focused, so they go out jogging, but then they started taking bags with them and picking up trash at the same time. So it became plogging. And with that said, of course, I think we have a huge respect for the fact that Pakistan is one of the most climate vulnerable countries in the world, and that the shocks of climate change is felt here first, and that we have had the possibility to, of course, develop systems where we can recycle, or where we can go green, or where we can have access to renewable energy. So I think that there's this balance, between on one hand realizing that countries such as Pakistan are deeply, very climate vulnerable and feel the shocks of climate change, every day. And seeing that we have been able to make this journey, so that we also have a responsibility to contribute to countries that need to take that path. So what I'm trying to say is that there is a global challenge, and a challenge that Pakistan has, and that all of us have in terms of climate change. But then there is also the responsibility of the individual, and the responsibility of the country to develop systems and also learn from each other in terms of how one does that, and also for countries that have undergone this journey to also support.
And what are some of the simpler things that you perhaps do on a regular basis, other than being on a hike and picking up some trash, to be perhaps more sustainable, be more climate friendly, and live a life that doesn't destroy the environment?
Well, there are a variety of things that one can do. I mean, these. So, for instance, for households that with electricity and AC, see to it that you kind of turn off the lights, turn off the AC if you're not in that room. Grow your own vegetables. Try to compost if you can, for the benefit of your own gardens. So there is a variety of things that you can do. I think water in South Asia and water in Pakistan is a challenge, regardless of what kind of is. It could be salinity, it could be scarcity, it could be sometimes too much water. So I think that the water issue is something that needs to be looked at, and you can do it from an individual level, of course, like do you use rainwater or do you use normal water too? Because I see, for instance, that people in Islamabad are very happy to clean their cars quite a lot. Is that done with rainwater, or do you use water from a tank to do that? So there are, I think, a lot of things that we can do on our everyday basis to individually influence, but that of course has to be connected to a system,
Right.
Where the society as a whole is more conscious.
Alex, we now live in a world where, there's a lot of grim realities that we experience on a regular basis. I mean, there's climate, there's shocks, and there's natural disasters, but there's also man-made disasters. In a world like this, how are you staying hopeful? How are you staying optimistic?
It's a good question. I think personally I always prefer to see the half full glass rather than the half empty glass. Sometimes in this world that we live in today, it is getting a bit challenging, to be honest. But I kind of have pools of inspiration that I draw from. So I think just meeting people is one of those, that on an individual level, I think I meet many people that feel the same, that somehow, we are living in a more unpredictable, unsecure world. And I can see here in Pakistan, young people, entrepreneurial minds, companies, women, civil society, journalists, that they are trying to do their best to kind of keep that glass half full. So for me, it's about drawing energy and inspiration from meeting people.
You just mentioned the youth right now. You spoke about the youth of Pakistan throughout this podcast. I want you to perhaps give some recommendations or some advice to the youth of this country. Maybe also speak a little bit about some skills that we should focus on, some of the things that the world is moving towards and you feel like Pakistan would benefit from also catching on to the bandwagon.
Well, first of all, I think that Pakistan's youth already have a lot of skills that can be useful. I mean, everyone is a product of their environment. And I think that when I look at Pakistan and Pakistan youth, I see that they have capacity to adapt that is tremendous because of the circumstances that you have in this country and in the region. So the adaptability is something that I think is a great skill for the future. I also see how people on in an individual basis are very entrepreneurial, and that you go out and visit outside cities in the rural areas, and there are all these like very innovative solutions that are made up, not using very advanced technology.
No, the word in Urdu we had for that is jagar.
Jagar, yeah. There's a lot of jagar in Pakistan, and I think that is some skill that the world really needs. How to do less with more.
Alex, have you picked up on any Pakistani foods that you will perhaps take with you?
Yes. I see how Pakistani food is so important to the identity or to being a Pakistani, as it is for Swedes. So yeah, I have picked up. I've tried different things. So one of the things that I'm like almost addicted to is this. It's like this salty, greasy liver ball patatika. So it's done up north. It's like, I think it's called patatika. Isn't it called patatika? You don't know what patatika is, Abdullah?
No.
Okay. Well, that is you should try because.
Oh, patatika! Yes, of course.
I said patatika.
Sorry. Yes, of course.
No, so I can't eat them by the dozen, but I'm almost there if I'm really hungry. I mean, good biryani. It's also something that I really appreciate. But I think above all, I appreciate how proud Pakistanis are about their food culture and how fun it is to sit and socialize with food with people here. We do the same, but you also know that we are kind of hooked on fika. So being able to socialize around food or sweets is something that we really have in common.
Right.
If you shouldn't get me started on food, but I also, one of those things that I have been so happy with is the fruits here too. Like you have amazing fruit seasons, and I know mango of course, but there are just seasons of all this amazing fruit like citrus and oranges. Like you have strawberries. We have also strawberries, but just during a very, very limited period of time in the summer. Like the melon is out of this world. So I think except fruit has also been quite a revelation for me, and I thoroughly enjoyed all the fruit seasons of Pakistan.
And what about the culture? So Pakistan and Sweden do have cultural differences, and on a day-to-day basis there are many differences that one notices when one has lived in Sweden and then experienced the Pakistani way of living. Are there some things that you'd perhaps take back with you when you eventually depart from Pakistan?
I think that here there is this and I'm not saying that it's not like that in Sweden, but I think hospitality here, and you have heard this from so many other people, I'm sure. The hospitality here is out of the world. People go out of the way to make you feel welcomed and make you feel at home. Guests are treated in a way that is something special. And yes, that's how it is in Sweden too. But I think that here it's like an instinctive reaction that So if someone invites you home in Sweden, it will be because they are very interested in getting to know you as a person. And here it's like, it's instinctive. It's the first thing you say to someone when you meet them. Almost. Think adaptability. Like in a country where, that always keeps you on your toes. And where things always happen. I think I said it before also, that the ability to adapt to a changing environment here is quite because you need to, but that is something that is very interesting, and maybe adaptability is something that we also could learn more of. And then the resilience part is I think that seeing how you are able on an individual basis to also overcome challenges and laugh at it is something that we could I definitely take back with me. That sometimes you just there's something that I guess that I also talk to my kids about, that sometimes you can't really influence what happens to you, but the thing that you can control is how you react to it. And that is on a kind of more societal basis something that I see here, that things happen, nothing you can do about it, but you can take it with resilience, and you can take it with a whole lot of humor and self-distance. And that can also then help you overcome challenges.
That's beautifully said, Alex. Thank you for saying that. I'm also wondering where you see, or where you would hope to see Pakistan go in the next 5 to 10 years.
Where would you like Pakistan to go in the next 5 to 10 years?
I think about this quite a lot, and we've stressed so much on the youth of this country, and I think that's where I'm banking the future of where this country is going to go.
I think we kind of talked about it before, and I do think that youth here is a source of inspiration, but it is also an asset. It could be an asset, and it could be a comparative advantage. If the potential is, if you kind of tap into the potential. So definitely, being able to take advantage of that potential would be one thing. So I agree with you. I think also from a diplomatic point of view, I see Pakistan playing a very constructive role regionally and in the world, on the world stage. Being able to use its unique geostrategic position to build bridges and to underline the importance of dialogue.
And on that note, where would you hope that the relationship between Pakistan and Sweden, the bilateral relation, that goes? Should we expect more companies coming into Pakistan? Should we expect more students going to Sweden? What are some of the tangible things that you hope happen within the next 5 years, let's say?
Yeah. No, I think, we have a broad relationship that has developed throughout the past 7 decades. What I can see is that I think that Pakistan needs to have get the kind of a more Sweden needs to be more known to Pakistan, but also the other way around. And that I think that Pakistan needs to understand Sweden more, and Sweden needs to understand Pakistan more. And on that basis, students going to Sweden or coming here, or companies not only invest like Swedish companies investing here, but also having Pakistani companies investing in Sweden. The more exchange we have in all these different fields, whether it is trade and commerce, people to people, culture, sports, politics, I think that if we can have that, then of course everything else will come too. So I think that we have a very solid base to build on. And of course, for my part, I do look forward to both broadening that relationship, but also deepening it.
It's a beautiful note, Alex. I hope that we're able to do that and much more. We're able to represent Sweden and Pakistan in Sweden. And when we ever sit again like this together, we're in a better space, both globally and in our national country level as well. Thank you so much for being at Pakistan Observer. Thank you for your honesty and your candid stories. Thank you for joining.
Thank you. Tack så mycket.
Tack så mycket.
Abdul.
Thank you.